Welcome to This Explainer. If you're completely exhausted by toxic hustle culture, that endless, exhausting pursuit of the perfect morning routine, and all that superficial self-help advice that just never seems to stick, well, you are exactly in the right place. Today, we're going to completely dismantle that trap. We are bringing together this incredible mix of ancient wisdom from the Stoics and Taoists and blending it with cutting-edge modern psychology to fundamentally change how you approach your own personal growth.
Think about that sheer psychological dread of starting a task. We just wait. We wait for inspiration to strike, somehow expecting this sudden, magical surge of motivation to just sweep us into action.
A sword is forged in the fire, not in the velvet scabbard. True resilience, genuine progress, and meaningful action, they all require us to actually step into the fire. It demands that we face discomfort head-on, rather than waiting safely tucked away in that velvet scabbard for the perfect conditions or the right mood to magically arrive.
Section 1. The Self-Help Band-Aid.
As creator Charlotte Morabito points out, it's incredibly rare for people to take a truly holistic approach to their goals. Instead, we tend to slap on these superficial fixes, Band-Aid solutions, so they just jump headfirst into a relationship, hoping another person will make them feel whole. Or someone chasing money just to feel valuable and worthy. Those external fixes, they just fall right off because they don't address the inner disconnection, the actual root cause that's driving the behavior in the first place.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core difference in our underlying motivations. You have to ask yourself, are you running towards something or are you running away from something? One person is running because they just ate a slice of cake and they are absolutely terrified of gaining weight. Now the other person? They're running because they want to build a strong heart as they age. Or maybe they're training to conquer a marathon. That person is running toward a positive vision. Sustainable change, for sure, always requires a positive vision.
Section 2. Surviving Modern Overstimulation.
Okay, so you've definitely heard the buzzword dopamine detox, but let's clarify the actual scientific reality here. It's a crucial neurotransmitter literally required for motivation, learning, and just moving your body. What a dopamine detox actually refers to is a behavioral reset. We are constantly flooded with highly stimulating content today, endless scrolling, binge watching, you name it. Over time, a detox simply lowers that reward baseline so that everyday tasks like reading a book or taking a walk can actually feel rewarding again instead of incredibly boring.
Now, neuroscientist podcasters like Andrew Huberman make this sound like a very 21st century biohack, but the core idea is actually ancient. Stepping back from intense stimulation has deep, deep roots in Indian and Chinese spiritual traditions, where practitioners intentionally gave up worldly pleasures to find inner peace. Today,
So the crucial point is that the common myth tells us first we feel inspired and then we take action. But psychology tells us this is completely backward. The reality is behavioral activation. First we take action and then the motivation emerges. That just grants us permission to avoid taking action altogether.
Let's actually trace the emotional timeline of procrastination. Research illustrates this phenomenon so perfectly. In one study, people who disliked math showed brain activity linked to actual physical pain when they were just anticipating doing a math problem. No joke, physical pain. The dread peaks right before you start. Once they actually started the math problem, that pain response completely vanished. By 10 minutes in, they were surprisingly engaged. The fear isn't about the task, it's about the wait to begin. The task was never the mountain. It was the intimidating climb you just envisioned in your head.
This brings us to a massively empowering strategy. Do the task first on a schedule regardless of your feelings. This builds what psychologists call psychological momentum. Just commit to putting one single dish in the sink. If you need to write a report, just type one imperfect sentence. By creating emotions so minuscule that you bypass the need to negotiate with your feelings, the motivation will arrive to accompany you, as it always does, after you've actually begun.
Section 4. The Ancient Stoic Mindset.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the core of cognitive behavioral therapy maps perfectly to a 2,000-year-old Stoic practice called cognitive distancing. Step 3, separate your judgment from the actual external reality. As Epictetus famously said, it's not things that upset us, but our opinions about those things. You literally have the power to change the lenses through which you are viewing your life. The Stoics also strongly believed in intense reality checks to conquer anxiety. Seneca, for example, advised actually practicing the worst-case scenario, like living in mock poverty for a few days, just so you realize it's not actually that scary. And when it comes to envying others, well, Epictetus reminds us that when we covet someone else's wildly successful career or seemingly perfect life, we rarely consider the grueling price, the hidden sacrifices, and the immense stress they paid to get there. Sometimes, when you look at the real price tag of someone else's life, you realize it simply isn't worth the pain.
Section 5. Accountability and self-efficacy.
It is absolutely valid to acknowledge that the world is unfair and that systemic obstacles exist. However, true self-improvement focuses purely on self-efficacy. It's really about what you can directly control within that existing system. Building a strong self-concept means building the resilience to rise up, problem solve, and shape your own outcomes, regardless of the unfairness of the world around you. You cannot let the difficulty stop you from taking action. To help flex that muscle of compassionate self-awareness and accountability, creator Charlotte Morabito suggests asking yourself this powerful question every single day. Is this a choice a person who loves themselves would make? Using this as a daily check-in completely shifts your perspective, ensuring your actions actually align with genuine self-respect and forward momentum.
Section 6. Practical strategies for stress. Let's move to how this builds a solid foundation for your daily routine. Seneca, he started every single year with a freezing cold plunge to remind his body who was in charge. Winston Churchill survived the immense stress of World War II by taking up painting, a genuinely challenging hobby that engaged his mind without any professional pressure. Keep a reflective journal to cage your monkey mind on paper, and read great books to nourish your soul. It is a vital, time-tested strategy to prevent burnout.
And when the inevitable frustrations do pop up in life, you need a way to self-soothe so you don't just absorb everyone else's negativity. I absolutely love this beautiful, slightly humorous metaphor from our sources, the river of lily pads. When you feel a negative emotion or encounter an angry person, just visualize those emotions as little frogs sitting on lily pads. It's a fantastic, super practical way to release frustration and stay in a high vibrational state.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. You now know that motivation is largely a myth and that action must come first. You know how to reframe your mindset and build up your own self-efficacy. Will you continue waiting safely in the velvet scabbard of motivation, just hoping the weather changes? Or will you take one tiny step, put one single dish in the sink, and step into the fire of action today? The power is entirely in your hands.